I'm always advocating for collaborative playing. And I think when I look at my musical journey, I think I learned the most from playing with other people. There's only so much you can do in your practice room and only so much inspiration you can have to sit and play alone all the time, And I I think when I really tapped into chamber music and especially when I worked with sort of in a more professional realm in that sense, I couldn't believe how my journey changed.
Good morning, Gareth.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's so great to meet you here on Zoom.
Yes, finally, face to face. Lovely to meet
Yeah,
you too. Thanks for having
yeah,
me.
it's a great pleasure. You're a pianist in South Africa, and it's so lovely to speak to you. And I would love to hear your story.
Oh, great. Well, I hope there's an interesting story there.
Yeah. But tell me, where are you based in South Africa?
I'm at Rhodes University in Grahamstown, or I suppose as in Makanda, as we call it now.
Yeah,
And yeah, I've been in the Eastern Cape pretty much my whole life, and hoping
really?
to sort of move past it eventually. But there's a lot going on here, so yeah, trying to make the most here at the moment.
Yeah. So, where you were born there?
Yes, I was born in East London, originally.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And then tell me, so at a young age, did you start playing the piano? What was the sort of the interest in the piano specifically?
So I have a very uh, special memory of being really, really young. I mean, I could have been sort of a very young toddler, and standing watching my auntie play. We had this sort of old horse and Coleman in our lounge, and she used to play by ear, sort of hymns and whatnot. And I just remember standing, looking up at her and thinking, that's something I have to do one day. And I used to just stand there and watch her for hours and hours while she would just play. And I always sort of thank her for my journey in music, because even though she can't read any music, and I've sort of taken this as a career, she was sort of my initial inspiration to start. And ever since then, I've just been attached to the piano. I mean, it's like I'm basically married to it. So
Really? And
yeah. So
what does your auntie make of that?
well, I mean, I think she finds it quite bizarre, because to her it was sort of just a hobby, and she's never thought about it as a sort of serious thing. Um, but I think it's very special to her too. And we've got a very close relationship, and I think because of that journey that I've taken and how much she inspired me,
Of
it
course,
sort of made us
yeah.
extremely close.
I
Yeah,
can
and
just yeah, I can just imagine if I think if you know that you've inspired somebody, that must be a great feeling. So I can imagine that she feels that way.
and isn't that the goal, for us to inspire people all the time? I think that's,
Yeah.
as a musician, I feel that's always our job, is to inspire the next generation or the next person to want to do the same thing.
Yeah, and talking about that, as a child, do you think you've had, apart from your aunt, that you have had a lot of exposure to music in the school, or where did you start playing? Taking lessons.
So it's an interesting question. So besides for my auntie's hymns, I didn't grow up in a very musical family. I mean, we didn't sort of listen to a lot of classical music. In fact, my family knows nothing about it. So in that sense, there was nothing. But I was very grateful for my parents' support in my journey, because I remember being grade one, so I really wanted to start piano lessons at school. And my dad went and spoke to the head of music at the time, and she said, we don't take people in grade one; it's too young. And so I was so disappointed. So I didn't start until about halfway through that year. I would go during break time and just sort of play on the piano in the hall. And the music teacher there, the HOD at the time, she saw me play and she phoned my dad and said, he must start immediately.
Really?
So that's really special. And in that sense, I've had a lot of support and a lot of influence from some really special music teachers that have really taken me under their wing, and seen this passion that I've had. And then I went to the high school, and I found a wonderful Bulgarian teacher there who was new at the time, but she changed my life completely. I mean, she really opened my eyes to music and pushed me so much further, which helped me
And
obviously get into the university and whatnot.
yeah, in what sense did she open your eyes or your mind to music in a different way?
So, what she did was really transform my sort of um persona as a performer. I think I was quite sort of introverted and scared before, and I was scared to play. I would sort of it would just be for me. I wouldn't really, perform for audiences and stuff. And she saw that, she said to me, you have to play for people. You are born to do that. She sort of said, and she pushed me in those spheres. She made me accompany the school choir at the time. She made me accompany people for Astedford. And she pushed my sort of solo playing a lot. And she played a lot with me. We did a lot of sort of two piano work, so it was that sort of nurturing that really opened my eyes. And she sort of introduced me to the world of listening, listening to other performers and the great pianists and concertos and stuff like that. And if it wasn't for her, I don't know how far maybe would have come, because that really grounded my passion. And that's when I knew this is my career, I have to do this. So
but
I'm very grateful.
Yeah, but how amazing, because what you're saying now, I think maybe it's also this thing where a lot of children are very eager to play, but you almost need that motivation or somebody so that it's not just every day the same thing. You have to go home, you have to practice a piece, and you come back and you play it,
Absolutely.
that type of thing. So there was somebody to sort of inspire you a little bit and make you see what is possible then.
Absolutely. And, I feel very strongly about that sort of in the school music education system. It's very textbook orientated, and I really wish music teachers would often look a bit further than that and see when you really need to start pushing the bigger music world to them, and inspiring them further. Like you say, you have these 3 pieces that you learn for maybe Trinity or whatever, but there's so much more. There's just so much more. And I couldn't believe it when I saw her, when she showed me a concerto, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know this existed. And it's just, I think that's where the passion lies. Like, you have to show people there's a world out there. You can do this for the rest of your life, and it's a constant exploration. It's just so exciting.
Well, it's, I always thought about it also, children who go to a music school, or my children went to a ballet school, and you always you're always exposed to what is possible and where am I heading to, so you see that, and you see the pictures against the wall, and you get an opportunity to go into the theater. And it is also true that in South Africa, there's not a lot of that type of exposure, so for people who are interested, there's not the theater, and like you say, the concerto that you saw. So it's amazing what you've achieved now.
Thank you. I feel very strongly about that also in the Eastern Cape. It's even less so. There's hardly anything that goes on here. It's picking up, and it certainly has improved over the years. But, even just going to Cape Town, there's so much more there, sort of musically and in the arts. So Eastern Cape is a difficult place, but I think we're all trying to improve that together at the end of the day, and trying to make things happen. Even just here in Grahamstown, there's so much going on at the moment, and it's all because everybody's tapping into little parts of it to try and to create a world of music, But
now at the university, do you teach at the university?
Yes, so I do all the sort of chamber music supervision here. So I'm very much a collaborative player, and I love the sort of collective experience of playing. So I do all of that, and at the moment I'm standing in for the head of piano studies who's on sabbatical, so I'm teaching all the piano students, and I do all the accompanying across the board from first year to masters. So it's a huge, but I love it. I get to experience music all day long, which is just my dream. So it's wonderful. Yeah.
And you work then with all these different young artists who are also inspiring and of course want to be the artists, and yes. So that must be very interesting as well.
It's very inspiring because we get a lot of students that sort of come from the Access Music projects and things like that, which are, I cannot believe the incredible work they are doing. We get these students coming in at first year level, and I just can't believe, from very limited resources that they have, their ability is exceptional, and it's a handful of them, but they're strong, and they really add a lot of value to the department, so that's a lot of our feeder comes from that. So it really is an inspiring space to work in.
Do you have a strict sort of procedure where you accept students, or is it open to anybody who wants
Um,
to study piano?
well, in piano studies, there's these. I think we sit around a grade 5 level. They do an audition, obviously. So we can assess. Sometimes we'll accept a bit lower, just depending to see what the level is. But it's about grade 5, grade 6 level for entrance. But it sort of changes depending on the instrument and depending, what the requirements are of the course. For example, classical singing, we often take people with no experience whatsoever and try and build them up. There's sort of a support program, sort of to build them up with theory and things like that. But yeah, so as I say, it sort of depends, and it depends on the teacher who's teaching that sort of instrument or whatnot. But yeah, for piano, at least grade 5 level, it's very hard, starting someone off from scratch at university level in piano studies.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. But now, in the schools in the area, do you have outreach programs, or what is there for young students to know that what is possible?
So we do. A lot of the schools feed to us and to NMU, which is in PE, or and we've also started a sort of community orchestra through the university, a project that the new HOD has just begun. And it's a wonderful project because it includes all the schools and all the access music projects in the Eastern Cape. And they come through and we play every Friday and we put on these sort of quite big concerts, and that's part of our feeder. So we're using it as a sort of community development, and we have professionals from the university that play with these sort of sections in the orchestra. And I think that's creating a lot of awareness for the university and for feeding students in, because they're interacting with the lecturers already before they come. So that's a big one. And I think it's a really, really important project that's happening at the moment.
But how important do you think it is for children to play in an orchestra, not just to always play on their own?
I think it's wonderful. Like I said, I'm always advocating for collaborative playing. And I think when I look at my musical journey, I think I learned the most from playing with other people. There's only so much you can do in your practice room and only so much inspiration you can have to sit and play alone all the time, and I think when I really tapped into chamber music and especially when I worked with sort of in a more professional realm in that sense, I couldn't believe how my journey changed and how much I gained, And I think in music studies, we often forget about that element, especially as pianists. We're often in the practice room all on our own all the time. And so I think it's a wonderful thing. I think you can learn so much from other people, In fact, I think it should be at the forefront of music studies. That's how important I think it is.
Well, I spoke to a conductor once, and he also said that it's not just about the music, it's about this whole community feel and this belonging to something, and that's also important. That's also an important part of the
Absolutely.
Orchestra.
I mean, I feel as humans, we sort of are social creatures in a way, and we always dealing with people and interacting with people. So it feels quite unnatural to me to sit and practice alone all the time or constantly just work on my own sort of voice. I feel like everything's always a bit of a community experience. So it just makes sense to me to work with other people and play with other people, And I mean, I find it wonderful that people can communicate through music like that. You don't have to talk, but you can have this conversation together at the same time and sort of this collective understanding of something. It's really a wonderful experience, And
I think also, and for children, it's this also a kind of motivation, because if everybody is in this energy of, they want to do it and they want to achieve something, then it sort of spills over, and then everybody gets into that mode.
Absolutely. And, it's, I remember in my undergraduate studies, my piano lecturer said to me, she said, when you play with people that are above your level, it sort of pushes you up to that level somehow, over a bit of time, you sort of start lifting yourself. So, and I think that's very true because I've experienced that a lot in my own journey. And I think, when I think of this orchestra that we started and the importance of it, that is happening. These kids that are don't have much experience are playing with these very experienced people and learning from them at the same time. And it's just pushing their standard up at the end of the day. It's just, it's incredible.
But now you play an instrument that's, the piano, you can't take the piano everywhere with you. And I always ask this to pianists, how easy for you is it to adapt to these different pianos that you play on?
Oh, well, it can be very difficult and it can be quite a stressful thing, especially if it's a sort of very professional concert or whatnot. But, what I always just say, you've got to go with the flow. It's like the show must go on no matter what. You've just got to make do. I often take some of the students to go and perform at old age homes, just because that's sort of our little community outreach for the chamber music stuff that we do. And I always warn them, especially when you're playing with clarinetists and instruments that actually need to tune to the piano. I always say, oh, we're in for a treat because you don't know what piano you're going to get there. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's also part of the excitement and part of the adrenaline rush, and it's exciting to know you get to a piano and it's not so great, but you've got to make it work.
Yeah.
And you've got to make it sound as best you can. So it sometimes I think can add to the performance a little bit, pushing your boundaries at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I think it's also, well, maybe I'm biased from South Africa, being from South Africa as well, that these things brings a certain element to the art also, the way people have to make do with what they have and not having it all and just, getting on with it.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
sort of that mode,
Yes, absolutely. And like you say, I think it's definitely, like you said, you come from South Africa and that is what we do here. You've just got to make do with what you've got and keep going. Absolutely.
Yeah. But this is amazing work that you're doing. You've got such a great energy as well talking about this. But what are the wishes for you for the future?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I think just to, finish studying, of course. And I'm busy with a PhD at the moment. So just get that out the way and just try and inspire people. I think that's the biggest thing, letting people know that there's a world of music out there and music is there to be made. So go with it, enjoy it, love it. And just to I think that's a big thing. Love music. I think we so focus on competition and judging ourselves against other people all the time. And it's a very bad side of music that I don't really like. So I just want to inspire people to enjoy it, play for the love of playing. That's where the gold lies, I think, when you're actually playing and interpreting and making music. I think it's so important. So that's the wishes for the future. I don't know much else past that.
But that's so true what you're saying, because not everybody is going to be this world-renowned pianist, and there's so much in between. There's so much to do, and there's music in itself to just play for the enjoyment, because I don't think all children also want to go into a music career. So it's this, I think it's always this sort of ability to be able to play an instrument and to know that you can play it, even if it's not perfect, but to play it for the love of it.
Absolutely. And everybody, I think, we don't want to build technicians at the end of the day. You want to build someone who has their own voice when they're playing, and everybody has something to say in some way. No matter what level you're playing at, what your ability is, everybody has something to say. And I think that's the beauty of music, is that it's so unique to each person in a way,
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you also, do you play different genres or do you just play classical music?
I would love to play different genres. I'm definitely into different genres, but I'm so, the amount of playing I do is just classical, because I accompany from morning till night. So there's not much space for other genres, unfortunately. I've done a few sort of pop concerts every now and then with a pop singer, but it's very seldom. Mostly I'm sort of focused in the classical realm. But that's maybe a wish for the future, to step out a little bit and do some other things,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I so remember talking to a Steinway pianist, Charlie Albright, in America, and he told me that he played a concerto in Carnegie Hall, and when with the encore, he just decided to play Great Balls of Fire, and he said,
"Brilliant, love it."
I thought this was amazing, and he said,
"Oh, that's wonderful."
The audience was on their feet, and he said they cheered him, and it was and this after a concerto, so. I always remember this. I think this is amazing if you have the courage to do that. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I think it's wonderful to sort of push those boundaries a bit, especially with classical
Yeah,
audiences that can be quite, strict about their preferences. So it's wonderful to do
yeah.
something like that. Oh, I love it.
And
Very
can you
exciting.
imagine Carnegie Hall?
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Sure.
So, oh, Garrett, this was amazing talking to you. You've
Oh,
got
no,
such
thank
a
you. I
wonderful
appreciate it very
story
much.
and such a great energy, and I'm sure you're such a great inspiration also to your community and the people you're working with. So, all the best to you for the future. And whenever you come to Vienna, you have to let me know.
I would love to. I mean, I can imagine the music must be just bursting at the seams there. I
Yeah,
mean, it
yeah.
must be
There's
wonderful. Sure.
so many concerts and things going on, and I think
Yes.
I sometimes think that I wonder if people really appreciate where they are when I think
Mm.
I came from the industrial town Vanderbijl Park in South Africa, and we didn't have a theater, so I'm
Good,
always
hey.
very in awe when I walk here and I see the theaters and things, and
Oh, it's
how
wonderful.
wonderful it must be. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But
Lovely.
anyway, have a lovely
Well,
afternoon.
thank you. You too. And I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks so much. And lovely to
It's
meet you, finally.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Okay,
All
Gareth.
right. Cheers.
Okay, see you. Bye.
Bye.